So today in this session, it's all about process, setting up your business process. Um, let me see, just a recap. Friday. Okay, sure. So let's go with this. Uh, as in the third day of the challenge, we have already covered of the four pillars. We covered pillar number one, which was your purpose, identifying your why, just knowing why you're in business, and we saw how critical and important that was. From that, you're able to determine your chief aim, and that chief aim is your guiding compass, that your north star that guides and directs you through the forest every single day. Then, like yesterday, we went into planning. Planning was actually creating that roadmap. Now that you know where you ought to be, not just where you want to be, where you ought to be, because that's an assignment. That's your purpose. And so we showed you how to craft and that roadmap to take you from where you are now to where you ought to be. And in that process, we delivered to you a one-page business plan, something that where you have it written down. You know, the old Chinese proverb says, the palest ink is better than the strongest memory. So when you have it written down, you are assured that you will fulfill what is there. And that one-page business plan, as opposed to the 20, 30, 40-page business plan that the bankers use, this one stays right on your desk. And it's also right in your mind. So at a moment's notice, you can always check where you are and realign yourself. Now, today, in today's session, we are going to take you through all the tools and people that you need to be with you on that journey. And we're going to share some things with you that I believe that you will really love. So, the starting point for today when it comes to the process is going to be actually setting up your business. I see lots of people who do this. They immediately begin with sending you to the Secretary of State and say you have to get your LLC, and that's you start in business. Well, that is a part of the process. But when you go right off the bat and do that, then it's like jumping on a train that is already moving. You need to be on that train from it is in the station before it moves, and that's what we do. That's one of the things that distinguishes our program from all the other programs that you're going to be seeing out there. You are on the train when it is boarding, and you get the full ride, so you get the entire overview of what that business journey looks like. And then you can determine what is the right business for you to engage in that is in alignment with your purpose, where your expert genius can come to full fruition. So now we are at the stage of setting up the process. And this is where, yes, this is where you choose your name, you register it, and you get your license, all the license that you need. Some businesses, you can start out with just registering your name. Other businesses, you have to go through another licensing process. Insurance, for example, financial services, you have to go through a licensing process for those particular categories. As part of the licensing process, you also have to be aware that in some counties, you have to have a business license. You need to have a business license. And that's separate and apart from the registration. So just to be clear, registration is with the state. And this locks in your particular name, so no one else can use that name, no matter where you are, what state you go. But then down at the county or city level, then that's where you get your business license that allows you to operate inside that county. And it's just a way for the county to get revenue. But one of the other things that it does with that business license, it protects you too, and it protects your neighbors. It ensures that you don't have a dog training service, for example, in a residential neighborhood, because that would be a nuisance to your neighbors. So if that's what you're doing, they're going to turn it down. You have to have a commercial location for that. That's just an example of how these different kind of licensing work. We are going to, I was giving you just a rundown of what we're going through today. After you enter the process of getting those things set up, and the next thing is to build your foundation. That's your various resources, production, administration. Then we're going to track with you into how to manage your finances. We touched a little bit upon that yesterday, but we're going to go deeper into this. So now, before diving in, I am, you know what, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So let me stop talking off my head and follow the script, the list that I wrote down. Um, okay, so I already went through recapping purpose. No need to do it again. Recap planning. No need to do that again. And I can share with you what we will be doing in this session. So when it comes to the process, it focuses on the who and the what you need, the systems and the team. When it comes to systems, we look at your scorekeeping, your scoreboard, your scorekeeping mechanism, your technology, your production, your equipment, the kind of tools that you need, the materials that you have to secure. When it comes to the production, we have to look at stuff like sourcing and fulfillment, all of these different areas. And once you have it's important to have a clear understanding of that to succeed. And then there is the people aspect. And this is where we look at your admin, your sales, your marketing, and your operations. So let's go back to, this might be going back a little bit, but we're going to get into the business setup, where I mentioned that the first step now in setting up, this is where you get your business structure legal and making your business legal. So you have your name registration with the state, your license and permits from the local counties or city. And then there's another thing that you have to do, that's get your tax identification number, registering with Uncle Sam, the IRS. And then you also need to get registered with the state. If you're in Georgia, Georgia Department of Revenue, because they handle sales tax, unemployment, compensation, all of these areas. That's where you register them. So that's why it's important to know all of these things so you can have them all in place. And just as an aside, I would say that 90% of the small business owners that is operating out there are not registered with the State Department of Labor or sales for sales tax purposes. But did you know that it is through your sales tax that you can get your workers' comp and your unemployment in case of injury on the job? Yeah, that's where all of this comes in. And that's critical. And many self-employed people, when something happens, they lose out because they never got registered. They didn't know that they had to. Sometimes they don't know how to do it. So that's why this is very important in understanding all of these areas. Now, in the area of setup, that's a process. That's a process, putting the process in place. Now, let's talk about setting up the business setup and your technology needs. Today, because of technology, your business does not have to be local. Even if you have a brick and mortar, you don't have to be just local. You can be making sales all over the world. How do you do that? Your website. And that's where technology comes in. So it's good and it's important to have a professional website that becomes your window to the world. Think of it this way. Your website is that window that anyone can come look through the window and see what's going on inside your business. That's how important it is. So how do you accomplish this? Your domain name. You want to make sure that when you register that domain name, and once it's registered, it cannot be changed. So you want to make sure that it aligns with your business registration. And there are a few things about even the name, in selecting the name that you're going to be using for online. You want to make sure that the name is what we call SEO optimized. In other words, it has a name, a word in the name that when they search for you, you can be found. So you want one of those words that is search engine optimization. It is highly optimized. People can find you when they go searching for you. Even if they don't remember your name, but just one word they can put in and it will take them to you. The next thing is identifying the software that you need, your software needs. That that allows, and this is the tricky part of it. So let me just explain the relationship between your software and your hardware. Yes, you have your computer or your laptop, but in order for that to work, you must have a software. In other words, the program that you load into it. It's kind of like having a car, and you have the car and it's sitting in your driveway. But for the car to serve you, you have to get in as a driver. A driver has to be in the car that takes you where you want to go. So one without the other doesn't work. In setting up your computer hardware, um, you some things are important. Security, for example. You want to have antivirus, anti-hacking programs, and these are software programs that will protect your computer. Those are like the fire alarm, the smoke alarm, or the Ring service that you have that notifies you in case someone is trying to break into your house. That's that's what your antivirus and your anti-hacking programs do. It protects your computer from hackers breaking in and stealing what you have there, shutting you down. Another thing that you need to have is your backup system. It's important to have your computer backed up, which that means having copies of what you have of your programs and your contents backed up. So if that computer breaks down, then you don't have to start all over again. You can simply retrieve that copy. Um, Common forms of backup usually is in the um, backup programs that you could buy, backup hardware that you could buy. But moving right along with the advance in technology, you have the ability to back everything up in the clouds. So you don't necessarily have to have a physical backup piece to do the equipment to do that. All these are designed to save you time, energy, money, and customers. Now, the next thing that you want to do is setting up your business email. If you're in business, you don't want to be using your personal email. Keep them separate. I'm a believer in the separation of the individual from the business. When you register your business as an LLC or a corporation or whatever structure you use, one of the major purpose and objective of that is to separate you from your business and therefore protect you from liability. So, for example, when you are registered with the state as a LLC or a corporation or even a non-profit, that immediately sets you apart, or your business sets it apart from you, the individual. So if my company, Better Business Solutions, got sued, then I am shielded from that because Better Business Solution is a separate entity. And so they cannot come after me personally and try to take my car or my home or any personal possession that I have. It stops right there. In Later on in my other program, I will show you what you must do to ensure that that screen between the business and the personal remains intact so that it is not pierced. They have a way, if you do some things, then it can allow them to pierce that veil and come after you, even though it's the business. So you have to know these things. All right. Let's see now. Let's see. I've covered those. Good. We do have. I'm not sure where that is right now, but I have an activity worksheet. It's telling me that I should go to, but I'm not seeing that. So let me go. We'll probably come up on it. Email. Okay. So now we've covered three areas. Another very critical and important area is your funding service, funding and financials. We're still in the business setup. Now it's time you have all those other things in place. Now it's time to set up your bank account, obtain business credit, insurance, and risk management. So if you are to operate successfully, then these are the things that you must have in place. So a word about the bank account. In order to set up a business bank account, you will need to have your corporate document from the state and, of course, necessary identification. And depending on how many people is involved, then they may all have to go to the bank to get that set up. Things have gotten a little bit more difficult now because you have to jump through a lot more hoops because there are so many criminals that is trying to take your stuff. Um, One thing, let me give you this caveat. One thing that you must avoid when it comes on to your business banking account is commingling. And men talked about how important it is to keep your business separate from your personal. One of the things that can make all of that void is if you commingle. What do I mean by commingle? It means paying your personal bills from your business account and vice versa. They should be kept separate. If you commingle like that and you get sued, the business gets sued, that's one way that they will use to pierce that corporate veil and come after you personally. So be sure to keep them separate. One of the things that I recommend is that you pay yourself a salary or a draw. You set yourself, and you do it on a regular basis. And you may write a check or set up an automatic draft from your business account to your personal account. And if you ever need to get some extra funds to do something personal, and it's in your business account, don't the don't write a check from the business account to buy that dinner or whatever it is. Transfer that fund into your personal account and conduct that personal business from your personal account, okay? Business credit, that is all about trust. When we use a credit card or take out a loan, the bank is trusting you to pay that money back later. Your credit score is like your trust score. The higher it is, the more likely banks will trust you with more money. That is one way of getting your business financed. Instead of using your personal funds, you borrow the money. Let me just say a word about this, because when you are not in business, you are, you have credit cards, you use credit cards, and you get in debt. So from a financial perspective, that there are two kinds of debts: good debts and bad debt. Those are bad debts. The personal debts that you incur on your credit card, they're bad debts. Why are they bad debts? Because it's a liability. It doesn't make you any money. You have to work to pay that back. It doesn't go to work for you. You are going to work for it. And that's what produces so much stress sometimes. Good debt is when you borrow to invest, and that debt produces a return. First of all, it pays for itself. And second of all, it grows. So it creates additional income to you. So that again is another area that it's important to be educated on so that you can use it wisely. Okay, moving right along. When it comes on to business setup, most important of all is your business scoreboard. I love that term, business scoreboard. This is where you keep track of all the money that is coming in and that is going out. It measures every cent. Every dollar is accounted for, so you know exactly where your money is going and how much is left. So how do we do that? Yesterday I spoke about the bookkeeping as your primary mechanism for keeping score. You remember we talked about that scoreboard when you go to a game and your eyes go from the scoreboard down to the game watching the plays? Well, that's the same thing here with your bookkeeping. And I'm going to dive a little deeper into it in this session today. But suffice it to say that keeping a record of all your financial transactions on a day-to-day basis is like keeping a diary of your money. Every time you spend or earn, you write it down. This helps you to stay organized, and it makes it easier for you to manage your finances. In a nutshell, these are tools to help you manage your money better and keep it safe and make smart financial decisions. So let's walk through some of those fundamental tools for accounting and keeping score. 3 major critical statements. Your income statement. This shows you how much money the company has made and spent over a specific period. So those period breakdown is usually going to be monthly, quarterly, and annually. So this breakdown includes your revenues, that means how much you make, what is coming in, and then there's your expenses, what is going out. And it therefrom documents your profits or your losses. After what is going out is measured against what is coming in, it's either going to be more or less. If it's more profit, that's going to be shown in black. And they say your company, your business is in the black. If it is less, if you are showing a loss, then it's going to be showing in red. And that's where the term, the company, the business is in the red comes from. You always want to keep it in the black. So think of that as a report card for the company's financial performance. The cash flow statement. This statement tracks the flow of your cash both in and out. It shows how well the company is generating cash to pay its debts, to fund its operation, and invest in future growth. It is critical to understand the company's liquidity and financial health, because that's how you make financial decisions, sound financial decisions. You don't buy something if you can't afford it. Yeah, so you work on building up your revenues, building up your reserves, making that profit in order to make that new acquisition. Of course, if the acquisition is going to make you more money, then you may find other ways to support it. But the next statement that you want to understand is your balance sheet. The balance sheet provides a snapshot of the company's financial position at a specific point in time. It lists, on one hand, is your assets, and that's what the company owns. And over here is your liabilities, that is what the company owes. Those terms are very close, but it's only one word, one letter, two letters that define them, and they sound almost alike if you're not careful. Own versus owe. And then there is the shareholders' equity. Shareholders' equity is the owner's stake in the company. It's your company. If you're a one-person operator, well, it doesn't matter. It's the shareholder equity is going to be what belongs to you after all expenses are considered. If there are multiple owners, then they're considered as shareholders. So that also applies. After the shareholders' equity, the profit in the company, that is divided among the owners based on their percentage of ownership. Okay. Oh, I see. I got a gift here for you. We'll get into that a little later on. And this is, I'm gifting you one of the programs, one of the platforms that helps you to monitor and keep your finances together. Okay, so now that we have covered the process, all the processes that you need to have in place, then it's time to go on to your business systems. These systems are what transforms your idea into reality. So we talk about the mindset, the things that you have to think about in those first two pillars, your purpose and your planning. That's all about the thinking. And now that you are clear on that part of it, then now we go into the doing, the activity, the action, taking action. And that is how we go now and implement the systems. So let's talk about the systems that you need. And I'm going to cover a broad splat here, but not all will be applicable to you. It depends on the nature of the business that you are engaging in. So let's start with production. What is production? This essentially is a phase where your ideas and your plans turn into actual products or service. It's the heartbeat of your startup, where all the brainstorming, the planning, the strategizing comes to life. In short, production is where the magic happens. It's the bridge between your vision and your customers' satisfaction. It's where your dreams become reality. This is crucial. Why? This is where your innovative concept becomes tangible. Without production, your idea remains just that, ideas. But the production takes on a new implication, where the application of quality control. With this, you can ensure that your product or your service meets the standards that you've set. This is vital for building a good reputation. Goes hand in hand with your business. One word about that, because at some point you might decide to sell your business after you built it, like I did with my insurance company. But here's the thing. When we talk about the reputation, in the business parlance, it is called goodwill. So that's where you get paid for the reputation that you've built, the loyalty, the customers who keep coming back to you because of their satisfaction. There is a segment on that sales contract that will list all of the equipment that you're selling, that everything that comes with the business, the physical things, that is. There's another section that deals with the intangibles, and under the intangible is where you will find goodwill listed, and that usually is a significant representation, a significant point in or a significant part of your business that you make good money for. It might be worth more than the actual equipment and physical pieces that comes with the business. So it is this sequence that streamlines workflow and for efficiency and quality. All right. So now let's get ready for production. These are the other prerequisites. What you will need depend on the product or service that you're offering, the specifics. But it is important to tailor these elements to meet your specific need. So what are we talking about here now? This is where we're going to look at the equipment, where maintenance and upgrade machines is necessary. In other words, having the equipment is one thing, but maintaining the equipment and upgrading those machines is another thing. And why this is important in order to avoid costly downtime and boost production. It's important to be aware of these things because these goes directly to your bottom line. The tools standardized for different purposes. Tools for training, tools for tracking inventory to improve the efficiency of your business. And there are the materials that you have to acquire. You have to manage your inventory so in order to prevent shortages or excessive overstock. That's why some of the devices that we're going to be looking at is so very important. If you have a shortage of the material, any part of the material, you cannot complete the entire product. And so that costs because you can't deliver the product. Now, if you have excessive stock, you overbuy stock, then you have money that you've invested and it is sitting right there, not serving you. It's important to manage these areas to be effective. Sourcing is a part of managing. Sourcing is where you build strong relationship with your suppliers. Suppliers who is going to be providing you with the materials, the equipment, all the things that you need to run your business. I guess it's called sourcing because it has multiple implications. It's going out there to find it, for one thing, but it's also finding it at the best price. Price is not the only thing, but quality, finding the good quality at the right price, and then also the ability for it to be delivered to you, timely operation, timely shipment. So all these areas are areas that you have to be aware of. They all play a part in how effective your business can operate. Fulfillment. Fulfillment speaks to delivering your service into the hands of your customers. What a shame it is, or would be, if you have this great product that does so much good and it falters when it comes to delivery. That leaves a bad taste in the mouth of your customers and it causes loss to you. So fulfillment is an important and integral part of your delivery system, and as it also goes to your level of customer satisfaction. And customer satisfaction is the key that you aim for. That all comes through your customer service. So here we cover your basic needs as regard to things for production. Now let's switch gears and look at the other side of the picture, your people needs, your team. Who do you need to have in your corner to help you to take your product that has now been transformed from an idea into a product, getting it into the hands of the end user? So this next element of people for your team, who you depend on in your business model, your product or service, and the scaling at which you are operating. Regardless, they will typically fall into one or two of these, maybe more than two categories. You have, I'm going to address basically two areas to keep it simple. It's basically your office. There are the office, there are the field, and there are the factory. So there is one element that is pivotal to all of these areas. Do you know what that is? Customer service. You have to be aware of this at all levels. So let's talk about the office. Who do you need in the office? Well, it usually begins with the office manager, who oversees the operations and ensures that goals are met and coordinates between all departments. Then there are the clerical staff. These handle administrative tasks, like documentation, daily support functions that goes on in the office. And then there are the customer service representatives. These team members handle customer inquiries, resolve issues, and provide support. They ensure customer satisfaction and maintain positive relationship with all your clients. Now here's the thing though. All of this sounds good when you have a good sized business that is going in, so you have a team. Well, some of you may be starting out as a one-man show, a one-person operation, which means that you are all of these. The funny thing is, that's where I started out. So I wrote an article once, the 12 hats of the sole proprietor, the one owner of the business. I talk about how being in a boardroom meeting in one moment, and then being back in the office as a janitor, fixing something that went wrong. So you have to manage when you're starting out all of these areas if you're a small one-person operation. That is why it is so very important to understand what these are, to be clear and put systems in place. Later on, I'm going to show you what I call a 3-touch system that I've developed for keeping your scoreboard updated, even when it's just you alone. Okay, so let's move on over into the field. In the field, that is where your sales take place. And in business, sales is the lifeblood of your business. Sales drive your revenue by selling your product or service, building customer relationship, and identifying new market opportunities. The sales is undoubtedly one of the most critical, because no sale, no business. The other part, the flip side of, or the complement to your sales department, is your marketing department. What's the distinction? What's the difference? Marketing promotes the business. It manages the marketing, the sales campaign, and it enhances your brand's visibility. It gets the word out. Once the word is out, then that's where the sales department take over. So marketing will develop the leads. Sales go convert those leads into customers. Sales support is another part of it, and that is commonly called the customer service department. So this can be also part of the sales team, and it is assisting with after-sales support, addressing customers' needs, their concerns, and ensuring a smooth sales process. It is about making sure that your customer feels valued and satisfied. So from the office, now we go over to the factory. And in the factory, who do you have there? You have a factory manager. He supervises the production process, ensuring quality control, managing the staff, and ensuring the flow of the business. All the equipment, they are working efficiently, no hitch. And then you come down to the production workers. These are the people that operate your machinery, that handle your products, that maintain your production efficiency, making sure that the product goes out the door. That's a good product. There is also another area, another department, as you break it down, the technical support. So in managing or production setting, customer service role might include technical support. And these are staff, people that would assist customers with product-related issues, ensuring that they are satisfied with the products that they receive. So each role, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, each role is essential to the smooth operation and the success of your business. Now, let's move over to another area. And this is where we talk about the tools. And I've got them broken down by categories. What are the various tools, software, equipment that you need for the business that you are operating? So let me walk you through some prerequisites, recommended tools for your production. First of all, let's talk about the business that is in the business of workflow or of projects. So you have projects, you get contracts, and you need to manage these projects. There are specific tools that is designed for project management and workflow. There is, among the common ones, I'm going to list 3 of them: Trello, Asana, and Monday.com. You see them advertised all the time. These tools, these are software programs that organize your tasks, that tracks your progress, and collaborate efficiently. There is 2 others I have mentioned here, Notion and ClickUp. These are all-in-one platforms for planning, documenting, and managing production workflow. But they help the project manager keep their teams organized, track their progress, and ensure that projects are completed on time and within budget. You get into production, your budgeting is critical. So, you are in product design or creating prototypes. Some of the programs that is designed for this category would be a program like Canva. Many of us are familiar with Canva because we use it to create flyers and programs and different kind of pieces that we need for marketing purposes. So these are for your digital product designs and marketing materials. Figma and Sketch, they are great for the coding and designing. If your product is software based, I don't know anything about that. I just have someone do it for me and I use what is provided. But that's all behind the scenes stuff that is above my pay grade when it comes to being technical. They're also used for design and prototyping tools that are essential for creating and refining digital products. Now, your digital products are stuff like your websites, your mobile apps, and software interface. These tools help designers visually test and iterate on their ideas before full development. They streamline the design process, they enhance collaboration, and they ensure that the final product meets the user's need and expectation. Now here's another one, AutoCAD. I'm familiar with that because a very good friend of mine was he designed, housing plans and stuff like that. So I know AutoCAD is like the number one when it comes to those kind of design, construction design. Fusion 360 is also there. These are for your physical product design and prototyping. And you know what I mean by prototyping. It's like creating a model of the real thing before you develop the real thing. In manufacturing and inventory management, if you're producing a product, then these are going to be important to you. You have to secure your material, you have to keep inventory. Then Katana, Odoo, and Fishbowl are the recommended software. I was looking for text messaging software program and I was referred to Odoo, and they have a great program, but there is so much to them. They have about 85 different platforms within the platform. So no matter what area of business you are in, if you purchase this one all-in-one platform, then you can do all of the things that you need, because there is a platform for it, as compared to buying the platform that is specifically for that. Now there are advantages and disadvantages, but that's a topic for another moment. When it comes on to commerce, e-commerce, selling things online, then Shopify, WooCommerce, and BigCommerce, those are the big three. If you're selling products online, these platforms integrate well with your inventory tool and keep you rolling smoothly and effectively, never being out of stock. The beauty of programs like these is that it keeps you aware of where your back office is, what's happening in your storeroom. When you're running low on a product, on an item that is needed, then it lets you know. So you have time to put in an order. As a matter of fact, they will actually do it all for you when it comes time, without you just get a notification. But it takes care of everything that needs to be done. And next thing you know, the storeroom is being filled, brought back up to the par, up to level. Okay, quality control and testing. So Google Forms, Typeforms, these are what comes up at the top of the list. And these are specifically for collecting customer feedback for quality improvement. You notice most times these days, you do business with a company, and right after that, they'll either ask you, if you're on the phone, to stay on the phone, or they send you a message asking for your feedback. That is how companies today stay in the know of what their customers are experiencing, and they are able to make the necessary adjustments to satisfy them. They recognize the value that comes with customer satisfaction. I read, what was it, today or yesterday, about a restaurant up in Ohio. It's been in business for over 50 years, and in one day it closed, and closed for good. Why? Because the manager requested time, an adjustment in his time, so that he could spend more time with his family. In a restaurant business, it's high production, and people, they work long hours. He wanted more family life balance, and management told him no. So guess what? Every single member of the staff, they all walked out. Well, if a restaurant has no staff, they have no business. But that also sent another message. And as I was looking at it, I said, oh my goodness, that is a part of what I've been talking about. Me being living long enough to see the changing of the generations. You see, in the old times, the managers, the owner calls the shot, and they take advantage of people. And those workers at that level were generally powerless. Well, what is happening today with the new generation, the millennials, and Gen Zs, Xers, is that they're not taking that. They're not taking that. They're not taking that. So the older generation is now recognizing that no, and so they have to make the adjustment. And that is why so many changes is taking place. You have to be aware of these so that you can stay with the times and not being left behind. In the case of this restaurant, well, they've been there for 50, 60 years. They were a staple in the community. They also sent a message to the other restaurants because they were noticing. So what happened is that the other restaurants now, they started looking at and treating their employees with more sensitivity and more collaboration with them, recognizing the value. Because if they are not there, they have no business. That's a word to the wise. So with all these processes, people is involved, but there are different elements that you have to be aware of and stay on top of. Okay, moving right along. Tracking customers and their issues. We have Zoho Desk and Freshdesk. Those are programs, platforms where you have an issue with your software, with your technology, then they will fix it for you. They will be there to service that for you. Now let's see, recommended tools. We move into the quality control and testing arena. Google Forms, Typeforms, they're also good for collecting feedback. I think I touched upon that before. Process Street, Talife. This provides automated document quality processes. Let's look at some more recommended tools. These tools can significantly enhance your ability to collect feedback, automate processes, and manage customer support. Ultimately leads to better quality and customer satisfaction. Zapier, Make Integromat, and this automates your repetitive task. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. These programs will take a task that you have to perform on a regular basis and automate it. Saves you time and makes it more efficient. Slack, Microsoft Teams, these are the programs that I use. It allows you to streamline communication between you and your staff, you and your customers. Airtable, Google Sheets, these help you to track production and data analytics. And by this we mean simply looking at the records, keeping track, and analyzing the results that you are getting so you know how to shape your future progress. Okay, so by now you can see that you have just about everything you need to start your business. However, there is one significant area that I want to expand a little bit further on, and that's your financial statement. By virtue of where we have come in this program, we have the 4 pillars. And the 4 pillars, the first one is to find your purpose, your why. The second one is to create your 4-pillar blueprint. Today we're talking about your business processes that drive your profit. Tomorrow we'll talk about your marketing and promotion that converts those inquiries into customers. So I want to go now into that piece that ties it all together, that makes it make sense for you, and that is your scoreboard. It's a system that you use to keep track of everything that you are doing, that you have put together, so you can know at a glance where you are in business, what is happening. It is how your accounting and your bookkeeping, and that's a part of your business. That's why we call it a scoreboard, because now it's like a game. Next to the players themselves, the scoreboard is probably the most important thing, because it allows you to know what is happening, keeping track. It keeps you abreast of the game, and it updates you with the score so that you can be aware of where the game is. Likewise in your business, the business scoreboard that revolves around your bookkeeping. And the bookkeeping scoreboard consists of 3 statements. 3 statements with daily updates to your transaction that allows you to track your progress and stay in the game. So let me slide over to those 3 statements, and I'm just going to give you an overview here, and then I'm going to show you one of the automated systems that I've developed so that you can utilize to stay on track and be updated. So the 3 statements, namely your income statement, also called your profit and loss statement, and there's your balance sheet and your cash flow. Snapshot of these diagrams is used to basically show you what it looks like if you're not aware. So let's see if we can. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see this. This is your income statement. I should have a bigger copy of it, but let's see if I can zoom in on it. So the income statement essentially has your categories for revenue. It gives you a summary of your, there are 3 things that the income statement shows you at a glance, at the summary level. Number 1 is your total revenue. Right up here, see this right here? That's your revenues. Tells you that for that at that point you have $10,000. And then the other tells you is your expenses. You have expenses of $6,000. And the third thing it tells you is your profit. And this one is looking good because it's in the black. The 6,000 from 10,000 is 4,000, so you're 4,000 in the black. So yeah, you can operate for another month. What you do with that, the breakdown of that, that's in another area where we do a deeper dive later on. So that your income statement or your profit and loss basically tells you, am I making a profit or am I operating in the red? Am I operating at a loss? And from that, you know how you need to govern yourself going forward so you can stay in business and transform to making profit instead of being in the red. Your cash flow statement. Your cash flow statement basically tells you what is coming in, where it's coming from, and where it is going. So right down here in the cash flow statement, for the same month of, all of these we're using the illustration for the month of January. In January, your operating activities, $4,000. That coincides with your expenses from up here. But now, this is where it is broken down so you know exactly where your money went. For example, and I just have a couple lines here. Interest activities, $1,000. So you know you paid $1,000 in interest on all those loans that you have out there. But that's fine. This is simply the cost of money that you have to use that you didn't have to take out of your pocket. And this helps your business to grow. So that is a good debt. Good debt. The other thing about it that makes it even better is the fact that it is tax deductible. So it goes towards reducing the taxes that you have to pay on the profits that you make. Advantage? Yes. Okay, then there is another line of activity, which is your financing activity. This is the payment that you make on those loans or those equipment, those tools that you have to purchase, but they were financed. So you see there are two categories here. The interest that you pay on top of it, but then it is the actual payment that you make. And so your net cash flow is $5,000. So there we have the breakdown of where that is coming from, and it coincides with your profit and loss statement. The third statement is your balance sheet. The balance sheet, see, for the month of January, is what gives you a snapshot of where you are in business. Where are you today? If your business had to close, if you had to walk away, would you have a profit? Would it be in the red or would it be in the black? So let's take a look at some of the items there. Cash. It tells you at the end of January how much cash you have in the bank. That's $5,000. Inventory, $3,000. Equipment, $7,000. Total assets, $15,000. So this is listing what you have. It's the value of everything that the business owns. Down here at the bottom, you have your liabilities. And this speaks to what the business owes. So there's $5,000 in loans. Total total liability, $5,000. So shareholders' equity, $10,000. That is the assets of $15,000, and you subtract from that the liabilities of $5,000. The shareholder equity now is $10,000. This means that if that is your business, and at the end of January you walk away from the business, you will walk away with $10,000 in your pocket. That is how these three statements tell you what is going on. But there's something else. That also goes into your net worth. And by tracking this, and that's in a different table. But by tracking that, this is one of the contributors to your net worth. Your net worth will have other assets. So, both business and personal. We like to talk about the net worth of the individual because you own the business. But this here, shareholders' equity, is one of the biggest drivers of your net worth, because as this grows, then your net worth is going to grow and makes it even better for you. So now that we understand how to keep score, then I'm going to give you a step-by-step demonstration of using the Intuit app from when payment is taken to when it goes into the bank. So the system, let me give you an overview of how that system works. And it is all part of the 3-touch process that I talk about. So basically, let's look at the path of a transaction. So someone purchases your product. You are going to have what is called a point of purchase device or system. That is where the money is collected. Remember in the old times, you might not have been around there, but I remember the old times when it's all cash. So if payment had to be made by cash, check, or wire. So from the customer's hand, the money goes into your bank account. And in the bank account, then it goes to take care of what needs to be taken care of, the bills that has to be paid, and so on. All of these things were done, physically. Your accountant would then take all those receipts and the invoices, tally them all up, match it with what is in the bank, and produce your month-end report, those 3 reports that we talked about there. Typically, that's the basis of it. But I want to show you how different it is today. So when you set up your business, you will want to establish what is called a merchant account. Merchant account is those platforms that will actually collect the payment. So you walk into the store, you make a purchase, you pull out your credit or your debit card, and you swipe it. These days you have it, you don't even have to swipe it. You simply touch it on the device, or you put your phone against the device. It's all set up in your phone. You younger folks understand that technology, okay? So you go there, you make that purchase. That's what's called a point of sale. So you make that purchase and you pay for it by one of these methods. That is touch point number 1. So when you're setting up your business, you will want to set up your point of purchase. And some of the companies that offers that is like Stripe, Square, or it could be Zelle or Cash App. These are simply mechanisms for collecting the money, transferring it into your bank. Now, I talk about the touch point. Instead of all that long drawn out process, with this system that we're talking about, you simply, you simply set up the point of purchase. So when your customer comes in and they buy from you, the money lands directly into your account. And when it is with the bookkeeping system that you have, it is connected to your bank. So as the money comes in, it is automatically transferred from the bank into your bookkeeping system, never to be touched again until the end of the month, when it is reconciled, when the account is reconciled. And that is done simply by the touch of buttons within your system. In the old days, you would get a statement from the bank, and then you would sit down with that statement, and you flip it over. It has a table there where you can reconcile to make sure that the recording that you have in your checkbook balance matches with the balance that is in the bank. So here's the deal. There were payments that you made that were not yet, it's recorded in your checkbook, but it hasn't yet hit the bank. So it is in limbo, it is in between. So to reconcile, to make sure that your bank account balances with what the bank has at the end of the month, that's the cutoff date, then you have to go figure out those payments that have not yet hit the bank and make allowances for it. And once that equals, then you're recognized. And you can close a book on that month and you start all over again. Okay? So here's how the advanced system works. Now let me demonstrate with you making a purchase. Because with when someone buys from you, all that is now automated, so you don't have to worry about that. At the end of the month, when the reconciliation comes about, that also takes place seamlessly. But what about when you make a purchase? How does that work? So you walk into Office Depot and you buy some supplies. At the register, it will tell you that you have two ways. You can do a couple of things. You can have a printed receipt, or you can have it sent to your email, or you can have both. So I usually have both. But let's say that I get in now and right there as I get my receipt, I open the app to my bookkeeping system and it allows me to scan that receipt directly into my bookkeeping system. And you know what? Once I do that, that's the last time I have to touch it. Once it gets into the system, then it goes in with it matches it with what comes into the bank, the income side of it, and that goes over from the bank into the bookkeeping system. So now you have the bank telling you that, yeah, you paid $100 to Office Depot, and I've already scanned that receipt showing $100 from Office Depot, and in my system, in the bookkeeping system, they match up. It automatically goes into the statement. So at the end of the month, this is your third touch point. At the end of the month, you go in and look at it. The reconciliation is automatically done. If there's anything that is out, then you can simply find it. That's the second touch. That's a touch point that you have. Just finding what is missing, why it's not reconciled. Usually it is. So once you find what is out of line, then you get that fixed, and boom, your account is reconciled. Okay? Now that that reconciliation is done, this is your third touch point. Boom, print. You go in and you print those reports. And there you have it in your hands, my friend, your statement. All three of your statements, you can print them off. I like to print them and keep a paper record of it too. I'm old school. So have that. But then it's also saved in your system. And with a system like that, do you see how simple it makes bookkeeping? You keep score. At any point in time, you can look at it and you see exactly where you are with all these three systems, three statements. So now you know what is there. Then you can spend less time trying to figure things out, and you spend more time doing what you do best. So just to recap, because I think I'm almost at the end of my presentation for today. Now, just to recap the highlights of what we looked at here in process 3, how you build a strong foundation for your business. We talk about the setting up process. That is the legal setup of the legal aspects, registering your business, obtaining your business license, your EIN, and complying with various tax regulations. Good. We talked about the technology and tools that you need. You secure your domain name, you set up your website, and you use project management tools to keep you going, keep you afloat. Then we got into your business systems and people. You establish structure for processing your operation, your workflows, your production, your sourcing, and your staffing. Then, last but not least, perhaps most important, the financial management. Opening your business bank account, tracking, setting up the systems to track your cash flow, and maintaining your financial records. The process pillar is essential for building a strong operational foundation, ensuring efficiency, legality, legal compliance, and financial stability. See, it streamlines your workflow through automation, clear systems, and structure your processes, therefore resulting in reduction in wasted time and wasted resources. A well-defined process enhances productivity, it strengthens your team structure, and it improves your customer experience, leading to consistent quality and service. Now here's another thing. It also supports scalability by making hiring, delegating easier while ensuring smooth business expansion. With proper financial tracking and compliance, business minimize risk and maximize profitability. You see, the reason why many small businesses rest on the shoulders of the business owner himself is because there is no system in place. It's difficult for them to go to the bank and get a loan for their business because they don't have the documentation. When you have these systems in place, it allows you to have more financial freedom. And what does more financial freedom produce for you? It produces more time for you, more fulfillment, more satisfaction, because things are running the way they are supposed to run, and you can enjoy life the way you are supposed to enjoy your life, living in your passion. So, my friends, when you do all of these things, it positions you to be like an Amazon, like a FedEx. It allows you to have a business that is so automated, that flows so seamlessly outside of the normal day-to-day hitches that you have. Take a note, take a message, a lesson from Jeff Bezos, who at one point was the world's richest man. That goes and comes these days. But the owner of Amazon. Do you use Amazon? Everybody does today, don't you? Think of it. You can order something today, and by this evening it is right at your door, and you did not have to get out. Or you didn't have to open your door other than to pick up the package. Okay? But let me tell you the story of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos was a financial guru on Wall Street. He got the idea, and this was just an idea, of selling books online. And that's when he started Amazon. He started with another name, then he changed to Amazon. But he, those days, you had books in the brick and mortar bookstores. His colleagues laughed at him. They mocked him. who's gonna buy a book online, You see, he had a plan. He knew what he was doing. And as his bookstore thrived, he curated all those customers and then begin to diversify into the other needs that they have. What did he have? He had a customer base that was online. But here's the thing. Jeff Bezos will tell you that he never made a dime in profit for the first 20 years. 20 years? Yes. Everything he made went back into the business, creating the expansion, creating the processes, the systems, and the growth. So, would you be willing to wait 20 years to become the world's #1 business, for another 20 years? Just food for thought. But the point is, when you have your idea, and then you transform your idea into action, because you have clarity of what that journey looks like, then you are able to go from where you are to where you ought to be. And with that said, my friends, my entrepreneurial powerhouses, that's our lesson for today. And I will see you where you ought to be on the beaches of the world.